welcome, and oh wait, shoot, I forgot to say welcome to the Minecraft Short Stories podcast. In this episode, I have a story I actually wrote, and as a lot of you guys have pointed out, the last story I wrote that was not a listener story was, I believe, Crystal Origins Part 2. And a lot of you guys have expressed some irritation, which is totally understandable, because you guys came to this podcast to hear the stories that I wrote, and also maybe see me improve in the stories that I wrote. You want to hear my ideas in these stories, and you don't want the listener stories that you've sent in just to be read back at you, because you've already wrote that. So I, for a little while now, will not be doing any listener stories. That does not mean that they're going away completely. They may be once like every 10 episodes, if even that, for a long time. So today I have a story by me, and completely by me. This is not a listener story. I know you guys cannot believe that. But before we get into the story, we have a word from our sponsor. This story is just called The Tower. I had an idea about a minigame where Steve, or in this case, this character's name is Carter, had to go up a tower 20 levels for a large reward. So I took the idea, turned it into a story. So hope you guys enjoy. The Tower. In the middle of the woods, next to a bustling village, standing 100 blocks tall, is a tower. This tower is well known across the villages. It is the Trial Tower, the home of the famous Ordeal of the Fortunate. Every year, one player is chosen out of the thousands of willing. This player must scale the tower in a certain time frame. If the player can complete the tower, he earns himself a weapon with great power and might, that they will fight for the overworld and help those in need. Carter stared upwards. The hewn stone walls and jutting windows appeared to climb for infinity. Deep within, he could hear the clicks of spiders and the gurgling moan of zombies. Fear writhed within. He squashed it down. Carter had to win, to help his village. The village he was in was attacked almost every day by pillager raids and patrols. They had stood strong so far, but if this did not let up soon, Carter would not have a village to help. The player who would begin the Ordeal of the Fortunate stepped up to Carter's side and handed him a sack. Carter rifled through it and found a firework, some cooked beef, a wooden sword, and some torches. The firework is in case you get into trouble and need assistance, the man said. Carter didn't know how they could arrive with enough speed to help him, but it was better than nothing. You set your spawn in the house we showed you? The man continued, referring to the empty villager house Carter had been to earlier. If Carter was killed in this tower, he would respawn there. But when a player respawns, they are weak for days or even weeks. If Carter didn't survive, his village may be destroyed by the time he could gather enough strength to help them. The tower has 20 levels, each incrementally harder. Survive till the end and you win the reward. The man smiled at him, and Carter tried to form his face to smile back, but he was too nervous and it probably looked like a grimace. The man led Carter over to the entrance to the tower. Are you ready to begin? Now remember, if you die or leave this tower before you complete it, you forfeit your chance at the reward for all time. Also, you will be timed, and if you do not complete this challenge before the moon rises, you will be disqualified. Now, are you ready? Carter nodded. I'm ready, he said. The man opened the door to the tower, and Carter walked inside, steeling himself for the ordeal. The room into which Carter walked was almost completely planks, with a fireplace in the corner holding a blazing log. The ordeal begins once you walk up the stairs, the man said, pointing out the short spiral staircase which led to an iron door. You can open the door from the inside, the man continued, but if you backtrack or leave the tower, you will forfeit your chance. Thanks for the information, Carr said, but what if I forget something in another room? Unfortunately, it will be against the rules to go retrieve it. It will be gone for you once you complete the trial or if you leave the tower. Carter nodded and opened the sack in his hands. He drew out the wooden sword. It was made very well. It was firm and pretty light. Wouldn't be very effective, but it would do until he could find another weapon in the tower. The higher up the tower you go, the better the weapons found. But the enemies also become harder. Carter walked up the stairs and reached the iron door. He flicked the lever and it slid open. The room was dark, so Carter set a torch from his bag onto the wall. The room was small, so the torch illuminated everything, including a zombie ambling towards him. Carter held the sword firmer in his hands and walked forwards. The zombie took a swing at him. Carter dodged and landed a blow on the creature. It flashed red but continued to stumble towards him as if nothing had happened. The zombie landed a punch and Carter flashed red, grunting with pain. Carter landed 2 blows on the zombie, and it was finally vanquished. In the light of the torches, Carter saw a shield lying on the floor. He walked over to it and picked it up. This would be very helpful, he knew. Beside the shield was the bottom of another staircase, and Carter walked up it with more confidence. Carter opened the second door and walked into the room, ready to place a torch. He didn't have a chance. A spider leapt on him and inflicted damage. Carter reeled. He was in almost complete darkness. The shrieking of the spider was mixed with the moan of a zombie now. Carter slammed the spider with his sword and it fell off. Carter took this opportunity and it illuminated the spider he had killed, and 2 lumbering zombies headed towards him. Behind them was a stone sword. Carter didn't stand a chance fighting them with a wooden sword, so he took a chance. Carter leapt behind the zombies and sprinted for the sword. The zombies turned around slowly, looking confused. Carter grabbed the sword and threw aside his wooden one. The zombies closed in on him. He yacked at one, inflicting damage, and it retreated. The other one didn't, and it was soon slain. With a few more hits, the last zombie met the fate of his companion. The 3rd and 4th levels were around the same as the first 2, just with more spiders and zombies. On the 5th level, Carter finally met a skeleton, but with a shield, it was easily conquered. Right before the 6th level, Carter sat on the stairs and consumed a piece of cooked beef. The 6th and 7th were also just more zombie skeletons than spiders. On the 7th floor, though, Carter nearly lost the competition. The room was composed of 6 zombies, 3 spiders, and 2 skeletons. Carter had come in and was jumped on by the spiders. While he was defending himself, he was pierced by 2 arrows. Luckily, once the spiders were gone, Carter was able to use his shield, and so he did pass that level. Level 8 had a huge upgrade. After clearing the 8 zombies, 3 skeletons, and 4 spiders, Carter got his hands on an iron sword. With an iron sword, a shield, and sufficient food, Carter thought he was very well prepared. Level 8 through 10 held no upgrades, and the iron sword sliced through the enemies easily. On level 11, the corner of the room was lit with a dull glow that shimmered like the sea. Carter headed over to it, and there discovered a glimmering stone sword, strengthened by an enchantment. Carter was conflicted. Should he take the weaker sword that was enchanted, but he did not know the enchantment, or keep the iron sword? Carter kept the iron sword. He was more than halfway done, and he could not take any more chances. Level 12 was much more difficult than level 11. Carter was surprised to see zombified piglins mixed in with the spiders and skeletons. They were much more difficult, and Carter was nearly dead by the time he finished the last of them. His shield was nearly gone, but luckily he found a new one in that room. He did not just find a shield though. Next to a barrel lay a beautiful, glimmering iron sword. Carter readily threw aside his old sword and took the enchanted one. It was surprisingly light, and its blade glinted. Carter inspected it and tested the sword on a nearby barrel. It cut through easily, much easier than it would be with a normal iron sword. The sword must be blessed with some sharpening. Foes fell much more readily with the sword, and Carter was doing pretty well until he reached level 15, where blazes were introduced onto the floors. Luckily, all the walls and floors were stone, or else the tower would have burned down. Carter blocked the fireballs and arrows as well as he could, but he's not able to block them all. 3 hit him before he could beat the room. Carter quickly ate some of his cooked beef and sighed with relief as the food energized him. He inspected the room, and to his excitement, in a barrel, he found an entire suit of iron armor. He put it on, and it was quite heavy, but the extra protection was worth it. He inspected the rest of the barrels and found nothing. Level 16 was harder, but the armor absorbed a lot of damage, so Carter emerged barely scathed. This level had by far the best loot found so far. After searching the room, Carter had a diamond sword and a bow. He put the bow in his sack and smiled at the glinting sword in his hands. Only 4 more levels. Level 17 was a ton more difficult than level 16. Not only were there 11 zombies, 5 zombie pigmen, 12 spiders, and 6 blazes, but also 2 wither skeletons. Not only did these charged skeletons hit like a ravager, but Carter was hit by their blades, and he nearly doubled over with pain. It lasted for 5 excruciating seconds, and he didn't know how he didn't end the challenge right then. He managed to avoid the blades after that in level 18 and 19. Finally, level 20, the last level. Carter had a diamond sword and a full set of iron armor, but with a diamond helmet. He also had a bow and a shield. Carter walked into the final room and saw only one enemy. This enemy struck fear on Carter. It was a wither skeleton in full diamond armor with an iron sword. It struck first and landed a damaging hit on Carter's shoulder. Carter retaliated and struck out with his diamond sword. The wither skeleton flashed red and staggered back. Carter took his chance and struck again. The skeleton righted itself and tried to hit Carter again, but was repulsed by its shield. Carter struck at the skeleton but missed. The skeleton took its chance and hit Carter. The crippling effects of the wither sickness hit Carter. Carter was near death. Through his tears, Carter slashed upwards and heard the clatter of bones and the clang of his defeated foe as it struck the ground. The effects subsided, and Carter ate some steak hurriedly. He didn't know if it was still day. Had he won in time? Carter climbed up the final set of stairs onto the top of the tower. Carter emerged in the dim light of dusk and grinned broadly. He had made it, just in time. The man was sitting waiting for him. "You made it. I knew you would," said the man. Carter just nodded, exhausted. "You're probably wondering about your reward, the powerful sword, correct?" Carter nodded appreciatively. "Yes, I was." The man smiled again and told Carter to climb down the ladder to the bottom of the tower with him. At the bottom, the man took the diamond sword Carter had emerged with and told him to wait for a small time. A few hours later, the man returned and presented Carter with the diamond sword, gleaming and magnificent, sparkling with new enchantment. In the following weeks, Carter was able to drive off the Pillagers almost single-handedly. Carter had won the Ordeal of the Fortunate and saved his village. The end. Thanks a ton for listening. If you're still with us, the Microsoft Stories YouTube channel has been live for a little while. We're already at 70 subscribers, 30 away from me having Grayson onto the show for a talk. So if you'd like to see that happen or just like to support the video versions of Microsoft Stories, the link for the channel is down inside the subscription. Hope to see you guys inside the next episode.